There's something that I had to learn the hard way as a facilitator. When I started doing this work, I had a tendency, like most people who are good at something, to start people where I started, to hand them the same map that I used, to point them towards the landmarks that I recognized, and for a lot of people, that worked fine. But there were a lot of other people who didn't work for it all. And for a long time, I thought maybe there was something wrong with them. There wasn't. My best friend Chaos and I started this journey together. Week 1, day 1, step 1, we took it together, and for the first 6 months, we argued about everything and what it meant. We had completely opposite views about everything, what we were seeing, what we were feeling, what it meant, and we were both completely convinced we were right. And the thing is, we were both completely right. About 6 months in, I had a vision at a ceremony that finally made sense of it. We were climbing the same mountain, and I was climbing it from the south, and he was trying to get to the mountaintop coming from the north. Every landmark we described to each other was real. We just saw them from the opposite direction. Everything that I could see on my left was on his right, and from where he stood, it was the exact same. Neither of us were wrong. We just weren't starting from the same place. We are all climbing the same mountain, and we all begin somewhere different. And I also saw in that vision that my job wasn't to live at the mountaintop, but to sit at the bottom of the mountain and say, "Psst, hey, kid, want to see the top of the mountain?" So before I tell you what this episode is about, let me tell you what it isn't about. It isn't about me handing you my map and asking you to orient yourself to my starting point. That's not how any of this works. This episode might not be for you if you already know what you want. If you can answer the question, what fills you with energy and what drains you of energy without any hesitation, if you have a clear direction and the main thing you need is more courage to move, that's a different episode and we'll have that one too. This episode is for you if the question, what fills you with energy and what drains you of energy, leaves you confused. If someone asks you what you want in life and the honest answer is, I don't know. Not I haven't thought about it, not I have too many options, just nothing's coming up. If you've ever sat across from someone who's giving you perfectly good advice and thought, I understand the words you're saying, and I have no idea how to do that. If life purpose, life vision, life mission all feel like they're written in a language you were never taught. This episode is for you if you're starting from the north side of the mountain where it's cold and barren. We're going to talk today about why some people have to rebuild the ability to feel before they can begin to choose, and how breathwork can help you with that. You don't have a direction problem in life, you have a connection problem. And once you reconnect with what you feel, the direction becomes obvious. I'm Jake, this is How You Breathe, this is How You Live. I'm joined today by Josh and Riley. Let's get into it. What is it that fills you with energy, and what is it in your life that drains you of energy? And it seems like that would be a fairly easy question to answer, but it's also surprising at how many people are disconnected from that answer. At least to me it was, that early on in this podcast, I did a 3-part series on life purpose, life vision, life mission. And in order to answer all 3 of those, and even to have the starting point of addressing those, you need to be able to answer what fills me with energy and what drains me with energy. And over the last 2 years, I've worked with quite a few people who, when I would ask them fairly remedial questions about what is it that you enjoy in life, if we took the approach of the 4 questions of what you love, what are you good at, what the world needs, what can you get paid for, those first 2 questions were complete and total showstoppers. What is it that you're passionate about? They really just don't have an answer for what it is they're passionate about. And this was very confusing to me at first. Like, how do you not know what you like in your life? And the first time that happened, I thought, this is an anomaly. And the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time it happened, I was like, oh, this situation is more dire than I had originally anticipated. there are a great number of people out here who are basically just disconnected from themselves at some level. And the starting point of what would you like your life vision to be is a step too far. That a lot of times when people come into breath work, I'm pretty straightforward that like self-love is the ultimate goal, but setting self-love as an intention on day one may be a bridge too far. It may be a step too big, that there's too much resistance in getting to that. And that the same thing happens when we start looking at life vision, life mission, life purpose. That may be too much. That's too big a bite at the apple to take for it to make any kind of meaningful progress in a person's life. And in order to do that, we're going to have to back up a couple steps in the same way that with some people in breath work, self-love may be a bridge too far, but it's like, all right, self-worth. Self-worth is always step one. Doesn't matter what's going on in your life. If anything else, if you develop self-worth, everything else in your life will increase and get better and improve. As your self-worth improves, everything else in your life is going to improve with it as well. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today. Not really so much life vision, but what is it? How is it that breathwork can help you become more in touch with yourself so that you can figure out what kind of life that you want to live without focusing on what kind of life is it that I want to live? I feel pretty comfortable that if I asked Josh, hey, do you know what you like? Do you know what you don't like? Do you have answers for that, Josh?
Yeah, I have lots of answers, but I'm with you. I'm still completely baffled by this phenomena. It makes no sense to me.
We'll go through a couple of reasons of why and I'm going to guess that if I asked Riley the same question that when they walked into breathwork 2.5 years ago, and I asked you, what do you like? What do you not like? What fills you with energy? What drains you with energy? Would you have had a good answer?
Absolutely not. That would have been a showstopper.
Yeah. I do remember one of my less delicate moments. Riley had been here about a year doing breath work studiously every week, sometimes twice a week. And at the end of year one said, I'm starting to feel, I've been calm and I'm starting to feel a connection with myself. And I was like, congrats, you made it to week 2. And they were like, what? I was like, week 1 is calm. Week 2 is self-connection. We're a year in and you've made it to self-connection. Congrats.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I also remember seeing the look on your face and was like, I probably should have kept that one to myself.
This reminds me when I was in college, I was working in the math tutoring center, and it was midterm week or something. So like all the students were they're trying to cram to pass their tests, and there's some engineering calculus student trying to do a difficult thing, and it admittedly was like a hard thing to do, but the closest comparable thing to it was like adding fractions. And I said, okay, remember in 5th or 6th grade or whatever it was, when you're going to add 2/3 and 5/7, what do you do? And she blankly stared at me and said, I don't know how to add fractions. And I just exhaled and said, I can't help you, and just walked away while she cried. And I was like, yeah, no, there's literally nothing I can do here, so I'm just going to exit this situation ungracefully.
Yeah, how'd you get here? It's kind of...
Yeah, you were a second-year engineering major taking Calc 2. You can't add fractions. I
need to go talk to somebody.
Yeah, somebody needs to be informed of this situation. But yeah, I handled it a little less gracefully than you handled telling Riley it was welcome to week 2, a year in.
Well, in that time, I have learned that, hey, sometimes the healing journey takes 2 years, not 2 weeks. That depending on how badly you've been injured, hey, do you have a minor flesh wound, or did we have to completely restructure this and build it from the ground up because everything was pulverized? And we understand that when we see it physically, that if we see somebody who's been in an accident and literally every bone from the knee down has been broken, we're like, hey, we're going to give them a minute to recover from that. But if they just like, hey, you nicked your finger on your bandsaw, wrap some tape around it, get back in there, kid. It's a different recovery time for that.
That generally works on like a joiner, but on a saw blade, it's a little
Well, it's
less easy to get back in the game.
7-inch
Yeah.
when you go to run it through and go, yeah, that was.
I'm gonna miss that part of my finger.
Yeah, it was only an eighth of an inch, but I'll get by.
Yeah. Now so on this thing that's very confusing to me and to you,
I have since made sense of it.
Yeah, there's a part of me that doesn't want to make sense of it because I'm still annoyed by it. But I also am deeply curious and would like it to make sense. But I wonder if this has been a thing for a very long time with phrases like the unexamined life is not worth living. Was this kind of a general theme behind that line?
I'm sure it was. That the number of people who do truly examine their life is very small. Now, the thing that we have going for us is, at least the people that I've been talking to when they come in, they're looking for a better way at least. And I would say most of the people who are living an unexamined life, it's unexamined and they haven't even considered the fact that they should examine it. That they're just, I'm going with the crowd. I'm never going to question anything, right down the middle of popular culture, and good enough for me. Whereas the people that we're trying to help today have had some setbacks in life, and they're looking around and they feel a deep state of discontent about their life. This isn't what I thought life was going to be. This isn't what I signed up for. And they may be doing well in life. They may be professionally reasonably well accomplished. They may be professionally struggling, but I'd say it's also about 50-50 there, that about 50% of the time, I've got a job, I'm performing, I'm an adult, things are going reasonably well, but I am deeply dissatisfied with what I'm doing. And then maybe the other 50% are like, hey, this isn't going well, and I don't see any point at which it is going to go well. I need to find a different path.
There's not a recognition of what good looks and feels like, but there's at least an acknowledgement that I don't like how I currently feel.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we won the lottery, you still have to get up and go to work tomorrow, you and I would have no problem with that. We would, we got stuff to do. We got projects. We're gonna make it happen. They would probably slide into a life of video games, watching movies, walking on the beach, which after a while becomes very unfulfilling. What we're looking for here is, and even life purpose, it's a life of fulfillment. And a life of fulfillment is doing work that fills you with energy that other people appreciate. That you may enjoy playing video games, other people are not so appreciative. You're not going to get most people. There are professional video game players, or there are professional Twitchers out there who play video games and comment as they're playing video games, and they're basically personalities. That's a very rare skill set, to be able to play video games and be a personality. So most people that are playing video games are just playing a video game for their own satisfaction.
The modern streamers seem way more like reality TV stars than pro gamers.
But there are also just legit pro gamers, guys who can play the game. There are teams, there are leagues, there are guys playing video games who make $2 million as an athlete salary, not from winnings. That's what they get paid to play video games.
I would tend to believe that people who like playing video games would not like video games as much if they had to play them at that level.
Correct. I was also surprised that, I think I've talked about this before, that I had this friend that talked about playing his video game all the time, and I went over and watched him play his game, and I was like, you are mediocre at best at this game.
You are not any good at this.
Yeah, you're terrible, which kind of explains the rest of your life, sadly.
I realized pretty young, and by pretty young, I mean probably my mid-20s, that there are things that I like to do that I could do for money, but doing them for money makes them not fun. Like working out and training, coaching, just like generally being around fitness, stuff like that. I coached a little bit when I was a student because it got me a free gym membership and made me a little extra money, but I didn't really like it that much. And once I was able to have the money to just pay to go to a decent CrossFit gym, it was way better because then I didn't have to do this thing. I didn't have to. I could just pay and show up and then leave and enjoy it for the sake of doing it. And once I think that was probably the moment that I realized there are a bunch of things that I enjoy doing that there are some people who do them for money, but I don't want to do them for money.
Like being a golf pro or a tennis pro, you think, oh, I love golf, I love tennis, I'm going to become a golf pro or a tennis pro. And those jobs are remarkably nothing like playing tennis or playing golf all day. And it has a very high burnout rate, that it's a very high turnover job, that people get into the job, they do it for a couple of years, and they're like, wait a minute, this sucks. What I want is to work in Wall Street and make a lot of money, and then come out here and play golf with my friends.
Yeah.
This is much better. That's a much better ratio.
You want to cruise around on a golf cart, crush a few Coors lattes, and shake a few balls into the woods. That is not pro activity behavior.
It is not. So that brings us on up to what's going on here that causes this. Like, why are people so disconnected from themselves that they don't know what they enjoy in life, that they don't know what's filling them with? And the first one's going to be emotional numbness, that they just have a low emotional signal in their life, that they're not getting clear internal feedback, that this can come from suppression, that if they early on in life were told that their emotions were in no way acceptable and not to express those emotions, well, if you're feeling their emotions, you're going to express those emotions. Anybody who has spent any time with Kim, you know that if she has an emotion, it immediately appears on her face, even if she doesn't say anything. And most of us at some level have a tell that if we have an emotion running through us, it's going to express itself in some way. So they're being told as a kid, maybe as older, maybe from church, maybe from school, hey, you're not allowed to have these emotions. Whatever these emotions you are, stop that right now. Psh, psh, water bottle spray. Let's not have those anymore. So the only way to do that is not, I'm going to have the feeling and then suppress the expression of it. No, you have to go back to the source and kill it there. It can also come from chronic stress. A little less common. I would say the most common from this is that as a child, you had to suppress your emotions for safety or for acceptance. Then comes chronic stress. Burnout is also just chronic stress. It's endemic long-term stress. So the person's nervous system is in a freeze or flatline state, that they may make very good poker players because they don't have an emotional affect, but because they don't have that emotional affect, nothing really feels exciting either. So nothing feels like the answer, because even if we had a good answer, how would they be able to tell? So they're not confused. They're just disconnected of, this thing happened. I don't know whether it's good or bad. If you ever had COVID, which I did, I found it rather mild experience, but it did affect my sense of taste. And at one point I went to Cafe Rio and had their sweet pork tacos, which I love their sweet pork tacos. And I ate the tacos there. I didn't know what COVID was at the time. It was before it got famous. And I thought, these tacos are trash. These are terrible tacos. I can't believe they've disappointed me like this. I'm going home.
Did you just pull the I've been a fan of this band since before it got popular thing with COVID?
Yes. Yes, nice. I am a hipster of
nice COVID. Pandemic flex.
I am a pandemic hipster. I had the pandemic before it was cool.
I had COVID before it was cool.
So I had the tacos. They were terrible, and I didn't go back for a while, and then 6 months later went back, had tacos again. We're like, they got their stuff together here. They managed to pull it together and salvage themselves and make some decent tacos. The tacos hadn't changed. It was my ability to sense and taste that had changed, because I was disconnected from my own sense of taste. So that can happen emotionally as well. So the second thing that can come up for them is the fear of choosing wrong or a high risk perception. If an opportunity does come up for them, or if something does come up that they do like, they immediately shut it down. And this isn't just opportunities in their life, it's things that they enjoy, that they're suppressing that enjoyment of it. But also when you ask them to make a decision in their life, that they have such a fear of choosing the wrong thing that they can't make any choices. That their first thought is, what if this is a waste of time? What if I fail? What if this isn't my real purpose and I spend a bunch of time doing this? So their psyche chooses a safer strategy of don't choose anything. And this creates the illusion of I don't know. I recently had a friend who was trying to teach himself AI and was doing AI projects. And none of the projects were incredibly meaningful. But he worked on one project for 2 days and was ultimately not successful. And he was kvetching about it. And I had reminded him the point of this project wasn't for you to build a beautiful website with AI. The point of the project was for you to figure out how to use AI. And congratulations, you spent 2 days figuring out how to not use AI. That is valuable information, knowing how not to do things. Because in the future, you'll go, hey, I've tried this strategy. That strategy didn't work. That's incredibly useful going forward. Next up becomes it's an identity issue, that there is an identity collapse or diffusion, that they have lost their sense of identity, or even worse, that they've never formed a stable, independent sense of self. That maybe as a youth they had to over-adapt to others, that they became people pleasers, and in their people pleasing they never really developed their own personality. They may have been achievement identity driven, that they were so focused on achievement that the achievement becomes their identity. And separate from the achievement, there is no identity of that outside of themselves. Whenever something like that happens, if they have a major life transition, I think women used to have this back in the day where their whole identity in life was become a wife and a mother. And then when the kids left, they didn't know who they were anymore. Doesn't seem to be happening so much in today's modern age, but it could. So the question of what do I want literally has no reference point within them. And then number 4, the very popular shame or self-worth block that comes up, that this is the deepest layer, that they have the unconscious belief that what I want doesn't matter, that I'm not the kind of person who gets to have a meaningful life. Why should I be able to enjoy my life if there's other people out here not enjoying their life? There's people starving in China. I shouldn't be able to get to eat it, they would say in the 80s and 90s. So,
What was that old phrase? Like, if you didn't eat all your food, they're like, there's starving children in Africa who could eat that. It's like, all right, then pack it up and ship it to them.
Right.
Because I'm full.
Yeah, that was never a very persuasive argument for me. The starving children in China argument, I was like, tell them to move. Didn't understand about borders very well as a child, but I did understand where the food was. So the desire gets suppressed before it even gets formed. And this will be a favorite for you too. Over-intellectualization. Living in your head. That they are trying to think their way to desire. That you don't get to think about that. This is like saying, hey, I'm going to think about what kind of music I like. It's not an analytical problem. You may be able to think analytically about different bands to one band, but you don't actually decide on the music that you like through an analytical reasoning. It just moves something within you.
I think you can think your way through themes, descriptions, but the starting point is you need to be able to distinguish. You need to be able to put the set of songs or artists that you like into a bucket and say, I like these, and be confident that you like those things. And then you can think your way through. You can be analytical about, is there a theme, a genre? Are there through lines in this set of things that I like that I can use to describe what I like to other people?
Yeah, if you can do a compare and contrast once you have different buckets.
But you got to be able to put stuff into buckets.
Correct. The original process of putting things into buckets doesn't happen at this is 120 beats per minute and there's a snare that's going off every third beat. I like that. That's not what's happening in your head.
808 drums, baby.
Something in you gets moved emotionally, mentally, in your physical body that you go, I'm attracted to this. I like this. That meaning is not discovered cognitively. It's felt, and then after you feel it, it's articulated.
So on the intellectualization,
What are you dying for over here, Riley?
Riley's laughing about
As
something.
you're explaining feelings to Josh, I was overcome with the need to say, they're called feelings, Josh.
You feel them.
It took me a long time to understand what they were.
How dare you laugh at my disposition?
We all have the tism here. It's a safe
So-
place.
There's a clip of a 14-year-old kid who texts a girl and says, "I think you're so pretty," and then she replies with AWTYSM, which is "aw, thank you so much," but he reads it as autism. And he's,
What? Again, the girl texts him back after a date and says, "I think you should get tested." And he's, "We didn't have sex." And she's like, "No, I meant for autism."
My favorite is, "Oh man, we really have the same vibe." Nah, hun, that's the spectrum.
Yeah. When we go through those causes, what you have is emotional disconnection, a fear of choosing, and low self-permission. So again, they're emotionally disconnected. They have a fear of choosing. When I talk to these people, it's like asking them to make the smallest choice of preference in their life is incredibly difficult. And it is frustrating for me. I could only imagine watching Josh deal with one of those people. The absolute Saturday Night Live skit of frustration and blowing up that it would become. And then they also have low self-permission of they need somebody else's authority. They need someone else's permission before they can take that step forward in their life, which results in them saying, "I don't know what I want." For a large number of people, starting with life purpose, starting with life vision, starting with life mission is too far. We can't start there. That's not their starting point. That we have to rebuild the capacity to feel, then we have to rebuild the capacity to choose, and then we have to rebuild the capacity to act. So here's the progression that we're going to go through, and this follows the progression for almost all of the breathwork journey. That we do healing, that when you heal, you deal with shame, you deal with guilt, you deal with grief, and then when you're done with that, you start working through self-awareness. Self-awareness is calm, connection, clarity, then courage, then confidence, then compassion, and curiosity, and then creativity. And that's basically what we're going to walk through today to get them to that point so that they can restore their ability to feel, and then their ability to choose, and then their ability to act. It'll walk through that same model. So phase one, we're going to restore feeling. They may need emotional healing. They may need self-worth. They may need forgiveness. They may need to express their sadness. But we're trying to reconnect you to your internal signals, and that we're going to use conscious connected breathwork to do that. And that as you're doing breath work, basically what you're focusing on is body-based awareness. What do you feel right now? Where do you feel it? And you don't need to know why you're feeling that. You don't need to know where it's coming from. You don't need to know what's causing it. Many times knowing the cause is detrimental. It's not going to be helpful to have the story of what caused this. Just feel it and let it go. That it's kind of going to the doctor, to the eye doctor, where is it better now or is it better now? And you're just flip-flopping back and forth. But a lot of times when we begin to reconnect to feeling, the feelings that we're going to have are not going to be all positive. That some of the feelings we have are most definitely going to be negative, which is why we've not been having feelings, is because we're worried that there's this tidal wave of negative emotions that is never going to end. And people don't have positive emotions and think, I'm just going to be stupidly happy for the rest of my life. I'm just going to walk around like an idiot with a smile on my face, not worried about anything. We never seem to have that concern. But we have a moment of depression. We have a moment of anxiety, self-doubt, fear, where we're not feeling our sadness. And we think, this is it. I am going to be sad for the rest of my life. And it's not true. That feeling is going to pass. And in breath work, we've talked about that one of the beauties of breath work is that you can modulate the experience. You can decide how intense it's going to be, how much of it you're going to face at any one time, so that you can detect the signal and modulate the signal. That if you go into something like mushrooms or ayahuasca, you do not have a choice of what that signal is that's coming through. If you've got big emotions and you've been scared of your big emotions and you think, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off and go to ayahuasca, I highly do not. Eventually,
Do not recommend.
eventually you will have a good outcome. The middle portion is going to be a little rough. But with breath work, you're going to have difficult experiences, but you're not going to have overwhelmingly difficult experience. It's up to you to decide how much difficulty am I willing to face in my life so that I can have the things that I say that I want.
I have a really funny way of thinking about this.
All right? I'm prepared to laugh.
When I was a little kid and started having baby teeth fall out or needed to get pulled out, the first one, my mom did the classic, oh, I'm just going to wiggle it. Let me look at it. And then pulled it out. And I was like, you liar. And from that moment on, whenever I had a loose tooth or something, I'd wiggle it and mess with it and push it and then eventually get it out myself. And I would just walk up to the kitchen table where she was sitting and slap it on the table and present it like, I did it. We're done here. You're not putting your fingers in my mouth and lying to me again. And breath work is like pulling your own tooth. Doing psychedelics in a heavy dose is letting someone else put their fingers in your mouth. And you're like, I hope I'm ready for the moment when they rip this tooth out. But you are in. There's no self opt-in. You like, that's it.
Yep.
And so
You get to opt in once.
Yeah, you opt in once. You're like, okay, I give you permission to wiggle my tooth. And then whatever happens.
There will not be a second request for consent.
Yeah, there will not be. And it might actually be like your whole mouth worth of teeth that they pull out in an evening.
Yes.
So the nice thing about breath work is you can wiggle that tooth at your own pace and at your own measure. Exactly.
That is a very weird and very good analogy.
That's exactly how that feels, though, right?
Yeah, no, it's spot on. It's just
That tooth's coming out one way or another.
Yeah,
It's coming out.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or you can just walk around snaggletooth your whole life. But when we're doing breath work in the beginning and we're experiencing calm, we're just trying to notice the sensations in our body. Did that feel slightly better? Did that feel heavier? What were the sensations that I was feeling? And you don't even need to be granular about what it was. Oh, I felt something sharp. It's just a general sense of what did I feel. We're not looking for clarity. We're just looking for signal detection. Signal. Let's go again. What you're rebuilding is signal detection. That's the word.
Nailed it.
Words are hard. Once you start noticing the signals that are in your body, that you can feel what's actually going on within you, which is step one. Hey, can I feel things? That we're going to begin to start to notice what your preferences are. That things don't have to be meaningful for you to have a preference. What's mildly interesting? What would you do for 10 minutes? That you're just trying to find something in your life that you have a preference for and that is attractive to you. That's basically what you're looking for in life is, hey, what am I attracted to? What am I not attracted to? If Karen at your office wants to go to Subway every day and you've always suppressed the fact that you hate Subway, maybe I'm not saying that you have to stand up to Karen and say no more Subway, but at least notice within yourself that you have dissatisfaction with that and it's not something that you would prefer.
Listen up, Karen. I'm not going to Subway again.
Right.
I'm going to lose my mind if I have to get another $5 footlong.
Take your crappy Subway. Get out of here, Karen.
So once you've started to notice the sensations within you, you've started to build up your preferences. Again, these things aren't going to happen on a linear scale. You're not going to do breath work week one, go, ha-ha, I am completely reconnected within my body. And then week two, you discover all of your preferences. It may happen that quickly. I hope it does. But it also may take a month of breath work once a week before you are mildly in touch with your body and just going, okay, I am feeling different sensations. I am noticing those sensations as they happen. I can have a headache and notice that I have a headache because there are people who do that and don't notice. There are people in life who get hungry and don't know they're hungry. This is a complete mystery to me because I sense the mildest sensation of hunger. And this is cause for alarm for everyone.
It's cookie time.
Yes. Once you have those two down, Then you're going to start running tiny experiments. You're not going to take big actions. Watch a documentary. Maybe not, you don't need to take a class on something, but maybe watch an instructional video on something that you're interested in. I thought this was cool. I'm going to go watch an instructional video. I just watched instructional videos on welding. Why? Hey, I might want to figure out how to weld. I may not, but I get to watch the video for a little while and see what I think. Go somewhere new. Go to a new coffee shop. One of the girls that I was working with who did this, that was her big task for the week was I am going to go to a new coffee shop and work for half an hour that I have not been to before. And that was a big step. Give yourself permission to start something bad. Take on a new thing and don't do it well. That you're looking for things that you can do in 10 to 30 minutes. There's no long-term commitment. Your identity's not attached to it. I'm just going to try something out. The goal isn't success. The goal is to try something badly.
Do you know I think it's a sales thing and an advice for people who are afraid to like approach attractive strangers in public, where you set the goal of getting a certain number of no's?
Yes.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, we're going to go to the bar or the gym or the whatever, and you're going to approach whatever attractive people that you would want to go out on a date with. But your goal is to get 5 of them to tell you no, and then at the end you're going to realize that nobody died, nobody got their feelings hurt, everybody's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. In sales, we would call that fail forward faster.
Yeah.
Because if you fail forward, you went forward. So it was like hit the wall, fall forward. Hit the wall, fall. If you just keep hitting the line and falling forward, that's sufficient. In life, there is no 3 downs and you're out. You can just keep failing forward.
Call that a burpee broad jump.
Yeah. The number of people who have outperformed me in life, that when you look at their stat sheets and look at my stat sheets, it is completely bewildering just because they didn't have any social inhibition around failure. They just did it again and again and again and again. You're like, this is hurtful.
Yeah, like you don't need to be that good if you're willing to take 10 times more shots.
Correct. After that, we're going to start building. So we've restored feeling in our body. We have discovered our preferences. We are now starting to do tiny experiments. 4th thing is you are rebuilding self-trust. That the first person you need to trust and the only person you can trust in life is yourself. That even when we say we trust other people, we're not trusting them. What we're trusting is our judgment of them. The internal judgment I have of you is that I can trust you. That is what trust is. It's still your decision.
I'd like to layer in something about the discovering preferences thing. I think preferences are very dependent on constraints. So trust fund kids who don't have to work have a lot of issues and problems in life. And I think it's because they don't have many constraints. And like I mentioned earlier, whether or not you keep it in or not, that I realized in my mid-20s that there are things that I want to do not for money, even though I could do them for money, because doing them for money changes the thing. There are also things that doing them, I have to do something for money because I'm not a trust fund kid. And so in the space of things that I'm willing and able to do for money, what are my preferences among those things? So being able to recognize, here's the set of things which could make me a living. What do I prefer among those versus here are the things that I'm not going to do for money, or I'm not going to do for any reason other than I want to learn, or I want to try something, or I just want a creative outlet. I think defining or recognizing the context and the constraint of the thing that you're trying to decide if you prefer it is really important, because it's overwhelming to say, if you won the lottery, or if money were no object, or if any number of things that's not realistic, what do you like? I have to imagine most people are overwhelmed by that because that's not reality. And so trying to decide between these hypothetical things that is not real versus, okay, do you like writing code, or do you like working with bricks, or do you hate sitting in front of a computer and you'd much rather be outside, or you hate being sweaty and hot? Maybe you don't do a manual labor job. So like,
and the thing that I'm beginning to is one where you started is where, like I said, like, hey, that's a position of complete non-starterness of like, hey, you won the lottery. What do you want to do? I don't know. You wound that down to, which is the next, like, hey, here's a step that we can take. Do you prefer to work inside or do you prefer to work outside? They can't answer that question either. So when I say, hey, we have to discover our preferences, and I said this in the text message, this is the base level, I don't know what I like in life. So wherever you're coming from, that's still 3 steps too far removed of like, hey, watch a YouTube video on something. And like, we're trying to remove as much pressure as possible from the process. Hey, watch a video on this. Go to a new cafe. We're not trying to find this the end all be all of what you want to do. What we'd want to find is, are you able to detect the signal for the preferences that you have?
But I get that, and I agree. I guess what I'm saying is, in the equivalent of going to the eye doctor and they're going to show you a chart and then they're going to give you a 1 and a 2, and you just have to figure out which one looks clearer. I think if you don't have the ability to construct a situation where you can compare an A and a B, if it's just open-ended, what do I like? I think
Correct.
maybe you do have to develop the ability to do the work to narrow a thing down, but I think it's worth acknowledging that you do have to narrow down quite a bit in order to get to do I actually prefer A to B?
You're reinforcing the point from where I started from, where it didn't work. That was my starting point of, hey, I'll just start here. And it's, oh, that didn't work. Why didn't this work?
Oh, I see.
So everything you're saying is the path that I already walked down of non-success with this person.
Oh, that's tragic.
So that has been the whole point of the talking in the beginning of, hey, I'm trying to walk them through everything that you said. And they go, I don't know.
Oh.
What do you like? I don't know.
Ouch.
Do you prefer to work inside or outside? I don't know. Do you like to work with computers or would you rather lay bricks? I don't know. So when I go, hey, we need sensation in our body, what I mean is, how does your body feel?
Like
Does it feel light? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel warm? Does it feel cold? I don't know. Okay, we're going to do breath work for a couple weeks until we can restore sensation to your body.
That seems so abstract, though. Like, it seems so much easier to work at a computer and then lay some bricks or just do anything and say, which did I prefer? Whereas breath work.
Going back to the very beginning, if you were raised in an extremely religious household in which you were not allowed to have an opinion, or you were allowed to express your emotions, hey, that is not okay. How dare you express that opinion that is against the word of our Lord?
Yeah.
Where's the word of the Lord? Where does it say that in the Bible? That I said that it says that. So they have that kind of upbringing of, maybe they were raised Asian, maybe they were raised fundamentalist Christian, but whatever it is their personal views were on life were completely not allowed.
And I just want to point out real quick too that that's not just going through emotions when your feelings are hurt or when something doesn't go your way or when there's a big life change. That's emotions surrounding things that you love, achievements that you made, ways that you feel. That is emotions surrounding your existence as a child every day.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do you learn to suppress your emotions, it's not a matter of forgetting who you are. It's a matter of never having an opportunity to figure it out.
Correct.
And so you find yourself as a 20-something or 30-something-year-old person, and you come to a realization that you don't know who you are. That's where we're coming from. These are things that
I
did
do
in
not have
childhood.
emotional feeling. I do not have physical feeling. I'm not able to make choices because my fear of making a wrong choice is so high. I don't have the identity to make a choice because I don't know what my identity is. It never formed. It never got a sense to establish.
I do not trust myself enough to allow myself the opportunity to make a mistake. Therefore, it is safer to freeze, to just not do anything.
Yeah. So, step 1, restore feeling. How does your body feel? Step 2, what are your preferences? They don't know what their preferences are. I'm just going to have what everybody else is having. I'll just order that and I'll like it. This is where we get to, they're going to do tiny experiments. Now that we have restored physical feeling and emotional feeling, and we have a slight signal on preferences, Now you can do things. Only at this point can you start to do things and start to notice, like, I like that, I didn't like that. Because before that, when you would do things, you didn't know whether you liked that or didn't like it. They don't have the ability to tell the difference.
So with them doing breath work, so are you saying the first thing is in breath work to just start to pay attention to how your body feels in breath work because it's removed from
Correct.
all that the circumstances that would otherwise make you.
Yeah, it's going to put them into a state of calm. One of the more common things when people do breath work is that they will have the feeling of energy running through their body. And as it's running through their body, it'll pull up in some areas. It will not go into other areas. It'll feel blocked in areas. It'll feel more intense in some areas and less in others. And that's really all they're going to begin to notice is, where do I feel this energy in my body?
I remember my first breathwork session, I had had such interrupted sleep for so long. My first breathwork session, for the first time, I felt like I had slept 8 hours. We were laying down for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I genuinely remember sitting up and feeling this like restoration, like I was like human again after so long of feeling an actual disconnection from myself on every level, from spiritual to physical and everything in between. So I think that even the starting point of let's get energy, let's get sensation back into your body, let's get your brain back online so that you're aware of the sensation in your body. For me, even that was a few steps away from the beginning. I picked it up, reasonably well. I shouldn't say reasonably quickly. I think I've done everything a little slower than everyone else, but that's okay.
Right.
But yeah, so just to kind of highlight that again, of having to almost connect to allow yourself to just breathe enough,
Mm-hmm.
to relax enough, to just connect to who you are as a human being.
Is it reasonable to compare it to somebody who has a bunch of physical limitations and fear around something, and then you put them in water where they maybe have never been or haven't been in a while, and it's totally different, and they can just move
Yes.
flowy through it without the
Yeah.
gravity on them, and it's, oh, now you can move, so now you know what movement feels like. Before, we're gonna.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great analogy.
And I guess continuing in that analogy, I'm up on land running around doing the things that I like, and then I get in the water and I'm like, oh, this is fun and different. I'm going to learn stuff and take it back. And I'm like, wait, I don't understand why. It breaks my brain, but now I kind of get it, where you need to be out of the context where all the walls and reasons to not feel things are in order to get any kind of movement in space.
Yeah.
That's really hard. That's my brain is broken now. But
Yeah, I
great.
said beforehand, hey, you're not going to get this. And we're an hour into it, and you just got to step one that I covered
Damn it.
in
It is
minute one.
exhilarating watching Josh go through the realizations and watching his face change. This is
It's like you first you learn to read, and then you read to learn. I'm like, wait, I missed the first part. I don't understand that.
I don't understand this reading.
Yeah. No, you just read the words and then you learn things. Oh.
Phase 1, restore feeling, emotionally, physically. Phase 2, you're going to look for preferences in your life. And we're just looking for small preferences. We're not looking for big, meaningful things. It's, hey, what kind of ice cream do I prefer? Do I prefer New York strip to filet? What are my preferences that I enjoy or that I find distaste for? And then you're going to run tiny experiments. Watch videos, take a class, go somewhere new, meet some new people, go to a meetup. The goal isn't to be successful. If you go to a new meetup, the goal isn't, I'm here to meet people I like, I'm trying to join a meetup. That's not what we're doing. You're just going to a meetup and going, did I enjoy this? Did I not enjoy this? And the goal isn't success. The goal is just data. How did I feel? What did I think about that? After you have that data, now you start to begin to build trust. So you've chosen something small, you do it, you reflect on that. Did I like it? What part did I like? What part did I not like? Over time, you begin to learn that you can choose and that you can learn from those choices that you make. I made this choice. I didn't like how that choice played out. I would like to make a different choice in the future. This will bring us to phase 5, in which we are just now, it is only now, at the 5th step that we're beginning to reintroduce desire. That only after we've done all of those, only now can you begin to answer the question of, what do I want more of in my life? What kind of life feels good in this body? And now your desires can naturally start to emerge. So it's only at this point where you're getting ready to go, I have natural desires, and those natural desires are leading me into a direction. Now, this is the point where Josh thinks that this is step 1. This is not step 1. For many people, this is step 1, but everybody's on a different journey. And the people who this is for are, I would like to do something different with my life. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I like. I don't know what direction I'm pointed in. And I've met enough of these people now to know that this isn't just a one-off situation or a one-off scenario, that it's happening frequently enough that this is the real starting point. I would love to be able to start at phase 5 with everybody, because that's where I started, and that was where my natural tendency was to start, was we'll just start here, and we're not at that point. We can't do that. They can't add with fractions. There's no use in doing the rest of the work if they can't add with fractions.
It's like giving a kindergartner a philosophy book and you're like, all right, go read this and then we'll talk about it.
Correct.
Not going to happen.
That was a great callback.
Then once your natural desires begin to emerge, now you can begin to construct direction, that you can have curiosity and creativity, and the things that you're curious about are going to lead you into that direction. And then once you go in that direction, then you can begin building some. So only there can you start looking on life design, life visions, even goals. But it's bottom up of, hey, I have to feel these things to first. So throughout all of this, at no point in any of this are we concerned about what your life purpose is. We're not concerned about your life vision. We're not concerned about any goals that you have. That's anywhere from a month to 2 years down the road. And you might be thinking, well, this is going to take me 2 years. How long did it take you to get to this point of disconnection before you noticed?
Also, if you don't even know what you like, your goals are going to be terrible.
Correct. That's why that's the last step. Hey, let's figure out what you like first before we start trying to set those goals. And there's nothing wrong with you because you don't know. It isn't. You're a malfunctioning unit. Somebody wound you up in the wrong direction when you were young. Somebody pointed you in the wrong direction when you were young, and you didn't have the strength to tell them no at the time. And it probably wouldn't have been a very good idea for you to tell them no at the time. I left the church that I was raised in when I was 19 years old. Leaving it before I was 19 would have been a logistically difficult decision. I would have paid a heavy physical price for that. So as soon as I was able to, I split, but not before then. So you don't have a direction problem in life. What you have is a connection problem. And once we reconnect you to what you feel, the direction will become obvious. But the direction doesn't become obvious until you were reconnected. As we close up this episode, I want to read you something Mary Oliver wrote, a poem called The Journey. Because everything that we've talked about today, the suppressed preferences, the accomplished person who feels like a ghost in their own life, the reason your nervous system has gone quiet on you, she describes it in 12 lines better than I've done in the last hour. The Journey by Mary Oliver. One day, you finally knew what you had to do and began. Though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried, but you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do, though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible. It was already late enough and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing that you could do, determined to save the only life that you could save. That was The Journey by Mary Oliver. the only life that you can save. That's the whole episode right there. We talked a bit today about why so many of us feel like malfunctioning units who can't answer the simplest question. What do you want? We've talked a lot today about why so many of us feel like we're struggling in life with very basic things. And the reason is the things that we're asking, as it turns out, aren't basic enough. That we're asking somebody if they have feeling in a limb that's been cut off. That you can't navigate from a place that you can't feel. Oliver's poem doesn't give you a map. It gives you a direction out of the noise towards something quieter. That new voice she talks about isn't an intellectual idea that you arrive at. It's a physical signal. It's sensation coming back online. It's the stars beginning to burn through the clouds of emotional numbness. That's what Riley found after a year of this work. Not a career pivot, not an epiphany. A voice that they could actually recognize as their own. And it's not an anomaly. It's not a goal. It's just a waypoint along the way. So if you're sitting with some version of, I don't know what I want, I'd offer you this reframe. It's not a direction problem. You have a connection problem. And connection doesn't start with a vision board or a 5-year plan. It starts with the simplest possible thing. It starts with feeling your own breath. How you breathe is how you live. Take a big self-connected breath. I've included this as an outtake because it didn't fit in the episode when it happened, but thought you might enjoy this moment of complete honesty and awareness and realization for Riley. And like most moments of awareness, it wasn't a welcomed one.
Yeah, just point to like just social media and like streamers in general haven't taken on that like reality TV feeling. Like these people get famous for
Being entertaining.
yeah, like I don't know why they're famous. They're just famous because they exist and they have an internet connection.
It's incredibly difficult. We're trying to do it here.
Yeah. I think the major difference
we're
is
hoping that's such a-
Unsuccessfully doing it.
Yes,
here.
I hope such a fate falls us.
yeah, I think the major difference is there are a lot of people out there that say a lot of words but don't really say anything, and we try to say something here.
Yeah, it's definitely an impediment to our viral success.
yes, it is.
Having actual thoughts and being a creative force is holding us back tremendously. You don't think I recognize that? Me and my original ideas?
The awareness is good.
Yeah, it's hurtful.